You're listening to the Really Useful Podcast, the tech podcast for technophobes. My name is Christian Cawley from makeuseof.com, and in this week's show, I'm joined by my MUO colleague, Ben Stegner. How are you doing, Ben?
Hello, Christian. I'm doing great. How are you this fine day?
Not bad. Well, it's just not so much a fine day here. It's evening time in the UK. You must be mid-afternoon?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 3 o'clock, 1500. And also, fine day made me sound really stuffy. I don't know why I said that.
and 50 years older as well. We are here to bring you tips and tricks and news that matters to you as a normal computer and mobile phone and smartphone, internet and smart TV user, as opposed to someone who programs or builds PCs or any for a living or anything technical for a living. We're here to break down the technical stuff and make it important and interesting to you and to filter out any of the nonsense. So in this week's Really Useful Podcast, we'll be looking at what Disney Plus have got coming, the Giphy Arcade, which lets you create and play Giphy games on your smartphone, and some free episodes that are coming to you from Roku devices of popular shows. We'll also be showing you how to make an old Mac feel faster and newer. A look at some of the top conspiracy websites, so prepare your aluminium tinfoil helmets. We'll be looking at how Tesla cars or Tesla connected cars can be hacked, despite what you may have heard. And we'll be looking in advance of Black Friday, some Amazon price watch trackers for the avid bargain hunter. We will kick off, as noted, however, with Disney Plus, which is set to launch in the next few months around the world. In the US, that is on November the 12th, and it will be priced at $6.99. They've recently revealed their pretty much everything that they're planning to share with the world. There's a whole host of excellent things. You've got the great movies like Toy Story and Frozen. We've got the new Star Wars shows, Mandalorian, and there's a bunch of old things that people have completely forgotten about and perhaps should continue to forget about. But no, the real turkeys from Disney's backyard are also being included. What do you think, Ben?
I think it's interesting. We've talked before about how streaming services, like every company wants you to sign up for a service now, which kind of gets hard to manage. So obviously, I think most people are a fan of one thing or another with Disney, whether it's the classic movies and cartoons or Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. So I think if you're any kind of Disney fan, it'll be a good mix of content. But it is funny how they've literally tweeted like every single thing coming to the service, because I don't think most people care about a lot of this stuff, like old niche movies that no one's really like. I've never heard. Have you heard of The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes, The Cat from Outer Space?
No, I haven't. I've seen some bad Disney movies, but I haven't seen any of these, which I'm feeling a bit guilty about now.
It almost sounds like if you have a couple friends over and you want to watch a like so bad it's good movie, kind of just to laugh at it kind of thing. But
yeah.
It's just weird that they're like promote like here's this giant list of everything, including all this second-rate stuff no one cares about. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Disney fan, I mean, $7 a month compared to Netflix or whatever, I don't know. It just depends on how big of a Disney fan you are, I guess.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be worth it to me, but I think it's interesting to see them throwing their hat in the ring.
It is. It also makes me wonder, like, who else is going to be next with this approach? See, the BBC with, like 90 years of broadcasting experience under its belt and a televisual archive going back 60, 70 years, they could compete on these terms with BBC iPlayer, something like an internationalized subscription version of BBC iPlayer, and alongside all the top shows, they could also be churning out their absolute turkeys as well. It could be fantastic. All these old shows that people haven't seen for years, given the chance to watch it again.
It's just like open the vault and whatever you find inside, whether it's something everybody loves or just some old piece of crap you want to laugh at. I'm trying to think of other like Boomerang has they have a streaming plan, I believe. It's like all the like Top Cat and all those old cartoons. Nickelodeon could do it. I mean, they don't have as many years as something like Disney, but even just going back to the 90s and 2000s shows that like my generation loves, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's a way to keep their old material relevant and maybe publish it for a new generation.
Yeah, make some coin off it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole list of these things. There's Mr. Boogedy, Fuzz Bucket, The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes, Justin Morgan Had a Horse, The Cat from Outer Space, Stepsister from Planet Weird. That's just not a film. That's just a documentary, I'm sure. Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, and Stuck in the Suburbs. There will be many, many more than this. And let's not forget, there is top draw stuff on Disney Plus as well. There's your great Disney movies from the past 2 or 3 decades. There's your classic Disney great movies, your Mary Poppins and your Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and Snow White and all those great big names. I've just had a quick Google of Justin Morgan Had a Horse. It came out in 1972. It's based on a novel by Marguerite Henry, and I've just had I don't recognise any of the names in it. I mean, maybe we should check it out on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that an option? Here we go. Rotten Tomatoes. Oh no, this says it's 1981. So that's an interesting difference.
Maybe it was so good they had to remake it. There it is. 5 years later, yeah. There's no ratings on this.
So there is at least one well-known person. Atlanta Wood was in Diamonds Are Forever.
Oh yeah, okay.
So yeah, there's I'm not finding any reviews on this. What's going on? So let's
It's like the movie that doesn't exist. Nobody's seen it.
No one's reviewed it on the Tomatometer. But I tell you what, once Disney Plus comes along, there's going to be reviews aplenty. I feel like Morgan Had a Horse.
Yeah, this will probably be good fodder for like YouTubers who want to review old like the worst Disney movies you've never heard of or something like that. So yeah, there's something for everyone.
Quite possibly. So that's what Disney Plus have got coming for you in November. Let's move on to Giphy Arcade. It's been launched by Giphy, which is basically an online tool that lets you make GIFs. It's also a repository because it keeps a copy of the GIF. You can either download it to save yourself, or you can share it on Twitter or whatever social network you want to stick your GIFs on. And they've created a database of mini games that you can play made out of GIFs. I'm having struggle getting my head around it, to be honest with you. Then again, I mean, I'm in my 40s. I'm obviously clearly past it. And I've only just worked out how to create an online GIF and then download it. I've only been doing it for like 6 weeks.
So this is like the next step for you?
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, so it looks like these games are like really simple. I mean, they're not necessarily made out of GIFs, but anyone can make them. And there's pretty much just like shapes. So there's like wall bouncer where you're like jumping between 2 walls and trying to dodge things that are falling, like a simple space shooter, a brick break type of game. So yeah, I guess these are when you're really bored and you don't have anything on your phone to play. What I do think is interesting that because anyone can make them, this almost kind of reminds me of like the golden era of like Flash games. So like how back in the day when Flash was relatively new and people were just using it to make their own games and they were on sites like Newgrounds where anyone could make a game and publish it. I feel like that era kind of came to a close as the iPhone got more popular because people made games for iOS so they could make money off of them because Flash games were kind of just done for the love of making it. So, I mean, I don't think this is going to reach the level of Flash games, but it's a fun little distraction, I guess.
I'm looking at the little. We've got a little video of it, which we'll show you in the show notes. A tweet from Giphy, and the thing that it's reminding me of, is Monty Python animations by Terry Gilliam.
Here's one where there's fingers trying to pick a nose, and you have to bounce a ball around the screen to knock the fingers away.
Yep, I saw that one. There's also one with a hand grabbing at some dogs, which is the very Gilliam-esque one. So
this definitely feels like the quality of like a Flash game where it's like kind of like silly and quick. But it could be a fun way if you've wanted to make a game before, you've thought about it and you're kind of scared you don't know any programming. It could be a fun way to make a little silly game and share it with people.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I'm curious to see how many people will use it, but as Flash kind of goes away, maybe we'll see more stuff like this.
Yeah, it's definitely a niche for it. So yeah, to create a game from scratch, you must first choose a game template. Styles include Floppy Bard,
So it's
which sounds Flappy Bird, yeah. Runner, Blast 'em Up, and Brickbuster. So they're all sort of like known genres that you'll be used to. The endless runners, shoot 'em ups, and brick games. You bounce a ball around, and the bricks come tumbling down with bonuses and what have you. So yes, that's Giphy Arcade, and that's live now. So you can just head over to the Giphy website or on the Giphy app and start messing around with that. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. We've got, we should put this next to Disney Plus, really. Rocky now offers 3 episodes of popular TV shows, which is a good way of giving you a free taste of something that you might then decide you want to keep watching. There's a ton of content on Rocky already, and they're giving 3 episodes of shows, including On Becoming a God in Central Florida, Godfather of Harlem, America, The Story of Us, Heartland, and Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. I have to be honest, I haven't heard of any of these shows at all.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. None of them even ring a bell, so I don't know if it's just I'm not really in touch with TV, like we were saying, but I don't know if that's a you and me thing or if this is just they're offering it for free because it's not very well known.
Yeah, it could be. Either way, it's some free TV to watch if you don't have a subscription on your Roku. So yeah, so that's okay. Free TV, can't complain for something that's free.
Yeah, it's probably like most free. It's not really a trial, but it's the kind of thing where they hope you'll start watching a few episodes and then get hooked on it and want to subscribe so you can keep watching it.
It's a carrot on a stick. It's a type of carrot you've never heard of on a stick. Basically.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's a vegetable you've never heard of that you're not sure if you want. I mean, yeah, but it's I guess if you have a Roku and you really want to watch something and you don't want to pay and you don't care if you've never heard of it, it's not a bad idea. But yeah, I mean, most people I think have discovered something that they really like by accident, whether it's a new artist of music on Spotify or something like this. So it can be fun to just jump into the deep and try something new.
Yeah. All right. So that is the news that might be of interest to you, dear listener. Whilst we are doing news and updates, and before we go on to the tips and tricks, last few weeks, Ben, I don't know if you've been catching up with the Really Useful podcast, but we've been discussing the story of my broken Samsung tablet.
Okay.
So what happened? Quick recap for you and the listener is one day I picked up my tablet, sent Megan some links for the next day's show, put my tablet down. A few hours I picked it up again, and half the screen was essentially broken. Not in the cracked way, but in the crashed way. Half the screen was, if I swiped the screen, the bottom half of the screen had a 3-second delay of the swipe. Okay.
That's
so
weird.
A few days later, I got in touch with Samsung, and they do a doorstep repair service in the UK with a company called WeFix. So they came out, had a look at it, bit of air sucking through the teeth. I'd filed a detailed report, it'd been factory reset 2 or 3 times, and they replaced the display, but that didn't fix it. So I was awaiting a new mainboard for the device to be sent out, and then they would come along with their little transit van and sit in the back with their little workstation. It's sort of really cool, and fix the tablet. But unfortunately, they sent the wrong piece. So I still have
the whole wrong motherboard.
They didn't even send a motherboard. They sent a different display.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So the engineer called me on the morning, texted me on the morning, and said he wasn't going to come because they've only sent another display and not replacement mainboard. So they're coming out this Thursday, hopefully, with a mainboard to get my Samsung tablet back up and running again. I'll provide this update for the listener because this has been going on this is the 3rd podcast on the trot. This has been going on for a few weeks now.
Wow, and how new is the tablet?
I can't really use it. I can use half of it.
How new is it? How
new? It's a year old. It's an S4, Tab S4.
Yeah, that's wow. That's such a weird like. It's one thing when it's like, oh, it's because I sat on it or whatever, but when it
Yeah,
just
it,
happens, that's so
it gets used
frustrating.
about 3 times a week, mainly for this and for reading magazines.
Hmm.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money to pay for a device for reading magazines.
Yeah,
But it's also got it's got that additional function of it's a tablet. It's a Samsung, so I don't have to buy a Samsung phone. It's got DeX built into it for
yeah,
if I need a
connecting.
PC, I can just turn that into a desktop. So so that's still ongoing. So maybe I'll have a resolution for you next week, and we can get an idea of just how good Samsung's customer support is
I think
in the
so,
UK.
so far seems like
Jury's
it's
out. The
yeah.
jury's out. Right, Ben. You have been looking at ways in which an old Mac can be improved or made faster, uh, oh, back up and running again. I had a look through this, and you can go through it in some detail, obviously. But in terms of a really old Mac, you did miss out a very important aspect:
What was that?
installing Linux.
Oh, okay.
But I will let you off. So look, I'm sat here with an old Mac, which I'm not bothered playing with for a while because it started slowing down, and I decided to start using Windows computer because it was cheaper to buy a new one. You're telling me now that I can actually speed up my old Mac. What do I do?
That's right. Yeah. So the nice thing about if you have an older Mac, we're talking maybe 2012, 2013 or earlier, they're actually still pretty upgradable. Newer Macs, they have a lot of the stuff hard soldered onto the motherboard, so you can't really replace it yourself, but older Macs you can. So the two best things you can do if you have an older Mac, and I talk about how you know if you can upgrade in the article, is to swap the hard drive for an SSD and to upgrade the RAM if available. So a lot of older Macs have an old spinning hard drive, as we mentioned before. If you can upgrade that to an SSD, it's not super expensive. You can get a nice decent SSD for $30 or $40, and it's pretty easy to swap even if you're not a hardware expert, and that'll really increase the performance of your system across the board. Same thing with more RAM. A lot of old computer Macs only have like 2 GB of RAM, so you can upgrade that to 4 or even 8 GB. And it won't be like a brand new machine because the processor's still old, but it'll be worlds better even if it's a 6 or 7 or 8 year old computer. I have a 2010 MacBook downstairs. It's still usable. I mean, the screen's kind of blurry because it's not a Retina display, but it runs fine. And then from there, you have those are the two main ones if you can upgrade the hardware, but then you have some other software tips too. Getting rid of old apps that you don't use is a good idea. Get rid of stuff running at startup. And then you might have to kind of switch the apps that you use as well. So one big example is Chrome and Safari. Chrome is kind of a drag, especially on a MacBook. It uses the battery more heavily. So if you can switch to Safari, it's more energy efficient. It'll probably feel better on your system. And they're similar enough that it shouldn't really make a huge difference for you. And sometimes reinstalling Mac OS can help as well, just kind of resetting everything.
Yeah.
So I've done this a couple times. I've upgraded machines for a friend once, and I did it on my own. And it's if you don't want to if you want to stick with a Mac and you don't want to buy a whole new computer, you can spend probably under $100, get a new SSD and RAM, and that'll make a huge difference. So it's definitely possible if you have one that's old enough to upgrade. If it's newer, you have fewer options, unfortunately.
Okay, and cleaning is also an option as well.
That's right. Yeah, there's a few things you can do that won't make it faster, really, but they'll help just make it feel kind of new. You can even something simple, just like changing your wallpaper, cleaning up your desktop icons so it feels fresh instead of like that old computer that's been sitting in your closet for years. And then giving it a physical cleaning can help too if the keyboard has crumbs on it or the screen's all gross. Just giving it a nice wipe down to make it feel fresh can go a long way.
Well, getting rid of the dust is always a good option.
Right, that
Now,
builds
do
up quick.
MacBooks have like a power fan to get rid of dust, or is there some manual cleaning required?
I think that depends on the computer. You mean like an
Yeah,
internal fan to clean?
yeah. Like I mean, my Asus Windows 10 machine has like a power fan option, so I can basically press function F5 and it'll speed the fan up to properly push out any dirt
Oh,
and dust. It'll,
hmm.
it'll go for a few seconds to clean out the internals and push it out.
I don't. That's a good question. I don't know about that if there is one. The fan on
Okay,
the MacBook that I changed is it's exposed, so you could clean it out with like a
right.
Q-tip or whatever. You could get some of the dust out. There's probably like a third-party program you can install that would help you
Sure.
speed the fan up, but I don't know of a built-in option
Okay,
off the top of my head. I've never used
no
one.
problem. Okay, so that's some great tips there. So just a quick summarize through there. You could upgrade your hard drive to a SSD solid state drive. You can add more RAM to the system. Uninstall old apps to get rid of desktop clutter. Use lightweight apps. Reinstall Mac OS for a big refresh, and even give your desktop a new look and physically clean the MacBook Pro. All great tips then. Thanks, Ben. And we're going to move on to, oh, good Lord, it's the conspiracy websites. Oh, do you know, a few years ago, I was somewhat into conspiracy websites in a way that isn't healthy for anyone. Um, and but it's helped me with this article. I compiled a list of 9 conspiracy websites that are still going and are worth visiting. There are some sites that aren't worth visiting because they're pretty trashy places full of
Weirdness.
unpleasant people, basically, and hate, and then they're not healthy places to visit. So I avoided those. So I've compiled a list of places that are worth checking out still. And, you know, I stumbled across some weird things looking at this. I'm going to quickly go through the list and we'll see where that takes us. So, first of all, there's the website Conspiracies. And as ever, everything that we talk about in a really useful podcast will appear in the show notes. So you can just click on the link for this and then you can see the various sites that you might visit. So, Conspiracies, Our Earth is Hollow, Decrypted Matrix, the Illuminati Conspiracy Archive, Godlike Productions, a conspiracy forum, Above Top Secret. There are 2 great boards on Reddit, the Conspiracy and Actual Conspiracy subreddits. The Flat Earth Society, which, as I highlight, isn't strictly conspiracy theory, it's more of a cult, and Conspiracy Theories Uncovered on YouTube. Now, the Hollow Earth thing is, I've been a little bit intrigued by that for years. The fact that it exists and the fact that it exists in so many places around the world in so many different times and eras of history. It's a bizarre old thing that parts of the Indian Asian continent around there, they've had this legend going on for a long time. The Nazis thought it was real. There are American natives who believe that there are tunnels into the inner earth. It's absolutely crackers, and yet it keeps coming back.
It's weird to consider how these spread. Like, how does it go from some random thing that you make up to something that a bunch of people follow and there's a whole website devoted to? Like, I don't you. The only thing I've never heard of this, to be honest. The only thing I can think of is like if you, like dig a hole to China that like you always say as kids or whatever, or like when you think about if you drill through the earth from here, what's on the other side type of thing.
Yeah.
But I've never thought like it's hot to me, if you're like it's just like think about if you were inside the earth, like the whole thing where the sun is just far enough away from us that we don't get burned or frozen.
Yeah.
If you're inside the earth, wouldn't you think with no sunlight ever that
Oh no, they've thought of that. No, there's an inner sun.
oh, okay. And the inner sun, does that heat the earth as well? Like, what about how does that affect us?
That heats the people on the inside of the earth, like a Dyson sphere.
Okay.
That's the idea. Obviously, a lot of difference in years between those two things. But yeah, but I love the fact that there's like little gateways in the North Pole and the South Pole. Those are the things that I really love about this.
Santa just knocks on the
crazy
door and they let him in. Oh, there's an Explorer store, but it's temporarily unavailable. That's a shame. Wow, this site looks like it's straight out of like it's just text.
Yeah.
And a picture of this guy.
A few years ago, I was writing a book about the Beatles, which didn't end up being published, unfortunately, for a UK publisher that went bust. But I managed to keep a little bit of it aside, and I ended up rewriting this portion for Make Use Of about a famous conspiracy theory: the Paul McCartney is dead.
Yeah, my friends told me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I went right into that, and that's the thing with conspiracy theories, because there is this. If you're going to take any conspiracy theory seriously, then you have to have a suspension of disbelief has to take place, just as if you're watching an action movie or a fictional any TV show that isn't a documentary or the news. Okay, any TV show. There has to be a suspension of disbelief. And, it's part of the conspiracy theories thing. And, it's a big sub-industry. These sites make a lot of money through advertising and selling goods and selling, there's the whole sort of like places like Above Top Secret and Reddit and Godlike Productions. And I'm not so sure about the Flat Earth Society. They'll all have a big collection of readers who have complete distrust in government. Could be described as, preppers, and they make a lot of money from that side of things as well. So, and take these things with a pinch of salt. There's a lot of amusing things about them, and there is, in some cases, some truth to what they're saying. But, the whole thing about joining dots and all that kind of attitude to things, if you're going to go down that route, then you've got to be careful that you're absolutely certain what you're saying is, because then we start getting into conspiracy theories taking over your life, and nobody wants that, really.
Yeah, I think that it's just I think the reason that conspiracy theories of any kind are so not addicting, but just enticing to people is it's just human nature. I think we want to see patterns where there aren't any, and I think that in most cases, like it can be exciting to get caught up in, well, what if this really happened or whatever. But in most cases, the simplest explanation is probably what happened. And because with the most conspiracy theories, it has to be, well, this just happened, and this, like, it's all these connections, and like this wasn't just a coincidence, and it's like 1,000 strings being like all these connections, and it's just like this. It's so ridiculous that there's just no way. Like, it's for all that to happen is just impossible.
Yeah. I think there's this in some of the sites, and some ones I haven't mentioned on the list, and I won't mention now, that I've read. There's this kind of idea that there's this huge, sinister, evil shadow stalking the earth, when in actual fact, what I suspect it is just stupidity. Human nature, getting things wrong, doing stupid things, being greedy, being a little bit evil, but mostly just this whole mash of chaos occurring and things turning out in different ways. Some good, some bad. But what do I know? Let's move on. Are Teslas secure? How can hackers hack connected cars? Our colleague Georgina Torbett has looked at this for Make Use Of, and we always think of car security as being having an alarm, making sure the door's locked, maybe using immobilizers. They tend to be built in with most cars these days. Older cars might have an immobilizer fob, or there might be one of those ratchet action sticks,
right?
That
you lock the wheel.
Lock the wheel and the gear stick and the accelerator or whatever, or the clutch. With the era of the connected car, we assume things are going to be a little bit more high tech and and easier and tougher for the hackers, but that hasn't been the case. There's been cases in the past where, for instance, radios from the radio signal from a key fob has been recorded and then used to unlock a car remotely. And we're now in the age of the Tesla super electric car, and super security is packed into these cars, isn't it? Or is it? We've got wireless reading of signals from key fobs in 2018 on Teslas. We've got repeater attacks on Teslas and Tesla key fobs as well, where the hacker picks up the presence of a key fob from inside the Tesla owner's house and then amplifies it, enabling two people to steal a Tesla in the UK. This was done as a test, but it works. The autopilot can be hacked on a Tesla. I mean that's pretty devastating.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, the entertainment system can also be hacked on a Tesla, and then you've got the whole issue with a Tesla being pretty much a portable computer. And when you're selling a computer, you've got to make sure you delete all your personal information. You've got to do the same thing with a Tesla. And, we're talking about Teslas now in 2019. By 2025, this is going to be the majority of cars. You've got to get rid of your personal data off this car before you sell it.
But how do you do that?
That's the question. It will differ. On the Tesla, you can perform a factory reset. But I mean, at this stage, there isn't, we're quite early into the whole connected cars thing. I would not be surprised if the factory reset does not completely delete. So
yeah, it probably would take a while to get that perfected. Yeah. I think the big thing that sticks out to me from this is like the issue with the duplicating key fobs and like the security flaws with encryption not working or whatever and all that. Like it says, thankfully they patched it with a software update. And while that sounds great, I feel like old school cars, I mean, obviously there's ways, someone steals your key, someone breaks the window and hot wires it, whatever. But like relying on a company to issue software updates to fix critical flaws is kind of a scary place to be in, because you think about, when there's a issue with Wi-Fi or something and you're waiting for your router to get patched, or you're waiting for Windows to get patched to fix some security problem, like your car, and it's all from, assuming Tesla is going to be around for a while, what happens if this becomes the norm and there's 25 car manufacturers that are all making cars like this and they're a little bit slow on updates, or you buy a car and then 5 years later they go out of business and they're not making updates anymore? What happens if there's just this known vulnerability where someone can just basically steal the key to your car?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it brings a whole new dimension into car security. But I think, we're hitting a revolution in the automobile industry, aren't we? With those like connected cars, electric cars, and the sort of the automated car thing all coming along at the same time. Getting on for 100 years since the production line motor car was invented, and so it's a good time for it. But I have a distrust of connected cars, and I'm fine with electric cars, but I'm not fine with the footprint of creating the carbon footprint, or the whole resource footprint of an electric car.
The work that goes into creating it.
Yeah, I don't feel that it is a solution that it claims to be, and I'm deeply suspicious of the whole automated car thing. And I don't think I'm alone in this. And I do wonder whether, in the next decade or two, we're going to find a lot of people are ditching the cars for public transport or ditching the cars for horses.
Just like the whole, going back to the basics thing.
Going back to the basics of having a vehicle, and having a vehicle that you can be in control of, like a horse or like an old school car. And the problem with the old school car is you might not be able to get the fuel. And if you can get the fuel, I mean, you'll probably still be able to get, you'll be able to power diesel cars because of cooking oil, won't you? So, diesel cars can be powered from cooking oil. So we're not going to stop using cooking oil, I don't think. But, the petroleum gasoline's going to be gone, more than likely. And old cars are going to smell anyway, without a lot of cleaning and maintenance. So that's why I just have a feeling people are just going to, for local stuff, I think people are going to go back to horses.
Or bikes even.
Or bikes, which are obviously more recent than horses. But, there's no reason not to have a horse, is there really? If you're not going to pay for a car that you don't trust, and if you want to go somewhere sort of long haul, you just hop on a train or plane or whatever. You're doing stuff locally. Why not get a horse?
If you don't mind taking care of it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, obviously. So could we be, 20 years time? Could we be both sat here, me a lot older? Well, I suppose we'd both be a lot older, but I would look older. We could be discussing we have wearable tech for humans. We have wearable tech for horses. Sat nav
security for your horse.
Mounted between the ears of a horse.
I guess people. I mean, yeah, if it became widespread, people would probably focus on building stuff for horses if they came
People
back.
will be tech pimping their horses, without a doubt. Yeah, totally.
It sounds like some kind of movie or some kind of like an alternative, like historical futurism, high tech horses.
Yeah, it does. That's a great name for a band, though, isn't it? High tech horses.
There it is. You heard it here, folks. Like everybody, we're the high tech horses.
High tech horses coming to a student union bar near you soon. So that's Tesla's. Are they secure? Not quite. And how hackers can attack connected cars. Check out that full article in the show notes. We're going to move on to the 5 best Amazon price watch trackers for bargain hunters, because we're coming up to we're coming to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and there's also kind of a pre-Black Friday sale happening. I got an email from Amazon this morning where they're cutting price on their own products. So what it does is basically you type in, you give the price watch tracker an item, and then it will tell you how much that item has been over the prior months. You can go back to a year, and that is interesting because that allows you to then get an idea of how much it cost last time it was discounted for Black Friday.
Sure.
Help you predict how much it will go down, or help you find yourself crying into your latte when you discover that it isn't as cheap this time around.
Yeah, it helps with a couple of things. So, like, since we're going into Black Friday, some I was gonna say dealers, some sellers are known to kind of like creep up their price before a big event. So let's say something costs $20, they might raise it up to 25 or 30, and then on Black Friday it's on sale for 20. So it looked like it's a great deal when it wasn't. That's normal price. But it's also good to know kind of what something is trending at. So if you see even like a deal of the day on Amazon Gold Box, and you see that it's on sale for whatever, you can check, okay, what's the average been over the last year, or what's the cheapest price this has ever gone for? Because if you see something at its lowest price ever, that's a pretty good sign it's a good deal. Whereas if it's been that price for 6 months, it's not really a deal. So that's really good. I've used it a couple of times on like a game I was watching or something, because you can put your email in and give it a price and say, if it falls below this price, let me know. So it's you don't have to check constantly, because some stuff changes price every day or a couple times a week. It's hard to keep track of.
Okay, so which service have you used?
I've used Camel,
yeah,
which has the weirdest name. But yeah, I've used that just because I'm familiar with it. I mean, it's not super high tech, but it gets the job done.
I wonder if there's actually a subgenre of websites that we could look at some point and make use of, where they're just named after animals repeatedly. So we could have camel, and DuckDuckGo.
That's true. That's true. So
far. Yeah. All right. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've used that. I don't use it constantly or anything, but I generally just use it to check what the going rate of something is. I mean, if it's a game or something, I know, but because sometimes you'll get an email, or even sometimes I'll see something on like I'll get a notification on my phone from eBay, and it says, here's something we thought you might like, and it'll be on sale. And then I'll check that item on Amazon, and then use Camel to see if the Amazon price is really a deal or not. And the other nice thing is too, that if an item is available from a third party, new or used, it shows those prices separately. So if you're looking to buy something used, you can see the price for that and how it's compared to the new price if you want to.
Okay. Now, in this list, there's several items. As mentioned, Camel is Keeper, the Tractor, Honey, and Watcher, which is Watcher with 2 A's. Now, is it an amazing statistic for you here? It's written by Dan Price, and he writes, according to Business Insider, Amazon prices change 2.5 million times every day, which means that a typical product will see its price change every 10 minutes.
Wow.
Which is absolutely insane. Now, no one has time to track Amazon prices like that often, which is where the Watcher tool comes in. Wow. and with that, you set a maximum amount that you're willing to pay for a listing, and then it will monitor the item's price history and let you as soon as the price that you want to pay is available. It's kind of a bit like sniping on eBay.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's using an automated tool to get something for less like that. I guess, I mean, I think it really depends on the item because, like I said, like I was watching a game or like a video game or something, and it was pretty much at full price, and so I thought if it goes below like $5 or $10 off, then I might get it. For this kind of thing, I mean, with the whole sniping thing, I mean, if you're looking to buy something for $10, I don't know if 50 cents versus 35 cents off is going to matter, or whatever, $1 versus $1.50, it's going to be pretty minor. So it just depends on the item. Maybe if there's a TV or something you're looking at ahead of Black Friday, you know you want to buy it at some point, and this will let you buy it at its cheapest point, even if you're not awake at the time or if you're busy. I think that's more what it's useful for.
Yeah. Right, useful collection of tools, regardless. And yeah, I mean, we would encourage you to check those out in advance of Black Friday, which is November the
late November. Let's see,
19th.
No, Thanksgiving is the 28th.
28th.
So Black Friday will be the 29th. Yeah, it's right at the end of the month.
I knew there was a 9 in it.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's really strange having a kind of sale period being imposed by an American holiday.
Yeah, I was going to say that must be weird for you because I know Thanksgiving is the last Thursday in November, but that's not normal. Yeah, and Cyber Monday will actually be in December.
Yeah.
So
that's right. So that is this week's really useful podcast, and just to give you a quick recap, we've looked at what's coming on Disney Plus. We've had a look at Giphy Arcade, now you can create your own games, and the 3 episodes on RockYou boxes. We've also got how you can make an old Mac faster and even feel like new, the top conspiracy websites, how Tesla connected cars can be hacked, and some Amazon Price watch trackers that you might want to try before Black Friday and Cyber Monday comes around. We are the Really Useful Podcast. We're available on
iTunes,
thank you. Spotify, Transistor. You can find us on the Make Use Of website. Pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, basically. And also, we're even on YouTube. So, you will find us. Just head out there and look for us. And if you've got any feedback, any comments, please leave them on iTunes or wherever you prefer to get your podcast from. But do leave us some feedback because it's really important on iTunes in particular because it helps us a lot. And we will be back next week for another really useful podcast, and we'll still be in October. It feels like the month that will never end.
Yeah.
That's it from this week's Really Useful Podcast from me, Christian Colley, and from him, Ben Stegner.
All right, goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Until then, it's goodbye.